What's up, War Report family? It's your boy Mike G. This morning on the Morning Drop, we're talking blue chip ratio. How much is Auburn singing the blues in recruiting? Let's drop it on.
You are now listening to the War Report. Drop.
What's up, War Report family? It's your boy Mike G. Here with my guy B Will on a Thursday, June the 8th. In 2023, the year of our Lord, we're talking blue chip ratio. But before we get started, guys, you know what to do, man. Hit like and subscribe on the YouTube video. Help us with the algorithm. We need to get those likes and subscribes up. You can help us with that. Also, share us on social media at The War Report and hashtag Get Your Weight Up so people know where to find us. Also, want to thank our sponsor, our title sponsor, The Rogue Shop, rogueshop.com. Guys, hit the Rogue Shop, use code REPORT to get 15% off that next order. Great sponsors of the War Report. We love the Rogue Shop. They're going to help keep us chill through what promises to be an interesting football season.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, blue chip ratio, man. Listen, we've talked a lot on the show about recruiting and past recruiting and the quality of those recruiting classes. So there was some information put out there about blue chip ratio. We're going to get into it. So I want to put up a graphic and I want to talk to you about this graphic. All right. This is blue chip ratio as of 2023, right? Teams who have signed more blue chip recruits than non-blue chip recruits over the last 4 classes, right? So this goes back to Gus. This is half Gus. You know, I guess, are they counting Hugh Freeze here?
Yeah, it would have to be, because if you count 23 class, which is Hugh Freeze, 22 class was Harsin, 21 class, which was Harsin.
Or Harsin, Gus.
21 class was Harsin Steele, if you want to be.
Right.
And then the 2020 class, which was Gus. So this is a little bit of everybody in here.
Okay. All right. So if we're assigning blame, 40% Gus, 30% Harsin, right? 30% Freeze. I don't know. Listen, at the end of the day, Auburn comes in 16th on this list, right? No surprises at the top, right? When you look at this, Alabama, has won a national championship in the last 4 years, right? Ohio State has definitely made the playoff. Georgia, back-to-back champions. Clemson, Texas A&M, probably an outlier here in terms of success on the field. But then you start to move on to teams like LSU, who's won a championship in 2019. They probably had the most prolific season of all of these teams listed here, right? You got Texas sitting there and Oklahoma, teams who have generally been good or in the discussion or had great players. Oregon obviously has made the playoff in the playoff era. Notre Dame, which is, how I feel about them, overrated, but whatever. Florida, Miami, Penn State, Michigan, USC produced a Heisman Trophy last season. And then Auburn sitting down here at 51%, in danger of falling below 50%. What are your thoughts about where Auburn ranks, here in terms of blue chip ratio? And what do you think this means, for Auburn in terms of talent this season?
Well, we're about to fall off the list, and it's not a coincidence that we've had 3 very underwhelming signing classes, which we're not just talking out of high school. It said players signed. So this is including players that we actually picked up from the transfer portal as well, or JUCO. So this is our overall talent, how we've reflected in talent overall since the 2020 signing class. But I think that off season, who we signed is what we're talking about here. Yes, our on-field product has gotten worse the last 3 years. Each of the last 3 years, we got worse and worse and worse. We were 6-4 in 2020. We were 6-6 at the end of the regular season 2021, 6-7 after the bowl season 2022. We were 5-7. We have gotten worse year over year. And I just hit me up and said it does not include transfers, just high school recruits. So
fair enough.
Our talent base, high school, has still gotten worse. What I'm looking at this thinking is, we get it. We knew we were trailing off with Gus. No matter how the signing classes had looked for the majority of his tenure, the talent on the field didn't reflect what the standings were in the signing classes. And it also didn't reflect what he was getting paid to do. We weren't finishing top 15, but we were signing top 15 classes. All right, well, if I give you top 15 and you give me top 25 or top 30 as far as how we're finishing the season, this is the coach. You bring these guys in, you process them, your system, your methods, get them out of here. So he's gone. Harsin comes in. He doesn't recruit particularly strong. We had some talent left over here when Harsin first got here, but there were a lot of holes to fill. Offensive line being the main one of them. So we have gotten an on-field product that kind of matches the trajectory of our recruiting over the last few years. It's not surprising. I remember seeing this graphic last year, and we were like at 55, 54%, something like that. So it's tailed off since then. I am not personally, and I know, Mike, you feel the same way. Development is a real thing. A borderline 3-star can function just as good as a 4-star can. The last guy we had, Derek Hall was a 4-star. He was a blue chip recruit. Roger McCreary, our draft pick from the 2022 draft, top of the second round, he was not a blue chip recruit. He was a 3-star recruit. Guys can get in here, not have every advantage of the measurables, and still end up being special. That's completely possible. We have to leave some room for the coaches to make some of these guys into much better players than they project as coming out of high school. But for the most part, like you said, this is where we have been falling off. Falling off.
I bet you this number was higher last year, and then the year before, and then the year before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it's tough, man, because when you look at blue chip ratio without development, what does this really mean?
Nothing.
You know, at the end of the day, right? Like, you've got 51% blue chips, but you had the 6th highest paid coach in the country at one point. You got top 10 classes, but you don't have top 10 results. Right. You're finishing outside the top 10. That's hard to do. Now, we've talked about on the show, like Auburn, you know, at the end of the Gus era, you know, right when Harsin took over, was the only school to average top 10 classes since the inception of the playoff, but not make the playoff. You know, they were knocking on the door in 2017, but they blew it in the SEC championship game against Georgia. No adjustments.
Yeah.
Right. You know, you get the number 1 overall recruit in the country. One cycle, 2015, I think it was. Bust. He's gone. Right. He doesn't finish here. Recruit after recruit that just didn't pan out to be what, you know, you thought they were going to be. You get one of the highest rated quarterbacks, or if not the highest rated quarterback, you know, in program history, and Bo Nix is gone.
Yeah.
You know, these blue chips that they had didn't finish here.
Right.
So that's why I say, if you go back and you look at blue chip ratio, I'm sure it was higher and higher, but as guys didn't develop and moved out of the program, you know, this number drops a little closer to 51%. I would say it was probably up somewhere where Florida was, mid-60s.
I don't think it was in the 60s. Not the last couple of years. Maybe before that, when you factor in some of Gus's
2019-ish. Yeah, maybe 2019-ish.
Yeah, that class had definitely, because we had 2 5-stars in that class. We had Bo and Papo. Yeah. So it would have been better going back, but we haven't had a big landmark signing since that 2019 class. Not one recruit that was like, oh, this is the one. Not one. Until this year when we got Keldrick Fall. Like that's the newest one that's like, oh, he 5-star guy in at least one of the services. That was a big recruit. But yes, we've fallen off a cliff here. And we know a lot of that is because of Gus losing steam towards the end of his tenure, Harsin not having steam at all during his tenure with recruiting. And I shudder to think what this would have looked like if Freeze hadn't been the one to come in here and kind of put our class together at the last minute, because he got a couple that we probably wouldn't have gotten. As a matter of fact, he got a couple that I know we wouldn't have gotten, because these guys were heavily recruited by us, committed to other places, and then they defected as soon as Hugh Freeze got in here and signed with us. We probably would be under 50% right now if Hugh Freeze had not gotten in here. Right. So, yeah, Hugh Freeze, his focus, and I see to get to some of it a little early, Haley's saying, yeah, Coach Hugh Freeze has it under control. Yeah.
We'll see.
I think he does.
Yeah, we'll see. Like, the effort is definitely there, and we talked about this on last night's show, right? Like, the effort in recruiting to not only boost Auburn's blue chip ratio, but actually develop the blue chips that they have and the ones they're going to get is there.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're going out and they're trying to find the right guys, and they've got to develop a system. So, you know, again, Jonathan says 62% in 2018. So about like what I thought, man, right up there around where Florida was a few years ago.
Yep. Yeah. Gradually got worse.
No, man, it was a slow death in terms of blue chip ratio. So let's talk about the SEC flavor of this list and what this means in terms of competition, right? You've got Florida, who is 13% better than you are, but the results are about the same, right? Like,
right.
Let's be real. They haven't been doing anything special over there at Florida. You got LSU on this list, who Brian Kelly has quickly resurrected because their blue chip ratio was real.
Yeah.
And in year one, he won the West.
Yeah.
Yikes, man. All right. Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher is doing such a great job, in my opinion, of just coaching every single player down into the ground. Like,
absolutely.
This 73%, man. And they didn't make a bowl game last year.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yikes.
I'm really happy for him.
I would
what he's got going there.
I would love to see the stats on. If you think about it, hell, Texas A&M and Auburn might be the only schools on this list over 50% that didn't make a bowl game, right? I think all these other schools made a bowl
last year. But see, here's the thing, though. If this doesn't include transfers, and that means Caleb Williams isn't counted in that number for USC. That means Jordan Addison isn't counted in that number for USC. There's a lot missing here. The thing about Auburn is it's pretty accurate for us. We have been trailing off talent-wise. USC actually looks a lot better than this number right now because of the volume and quality of transfers that they have. So this is a little bit fool's gold for them specifically because of what Lincoln Riley was able to do in the transfer portal. But for everybody else, I mean, you know who I actually have to give some credit to, and maybe they just ran into their ceiling here, but Michigan at 54%. Has made the playoff 2 straight years, has beaten Ohio State 2 straight years, and Ohio State's up there at 85%. Clemson didn't make the playoff last year, but Michigan did. LSU didn't make the playoff last year, but Michigan did. Like two years straight. One time is a blip. Cincinnati did it one time. TCU did it one time. 2 years straight, though, you got something cooking up there, and I think that speaks to the quality of development that they got going at Michigan, and we need some of that, man. We need the studs, we need the 4s and 5s, but I want the development too.
Right. I mean, you got to have the development. Ultimately, you got 6 teams from the SEC on this list, right? And I mean, this is, not only 6 on this list, but 3 of them, are in the same division. You've got, 4 of them are in the same division. 2 over in the East.
Auburn, LSU, Bama, and A&M.
A&M, yeah, right. And you've got Georgia and Florida on the other side of the conference there. We know divisions are going away eventually. So this might become an even more nuanced discussion when you talk about where people finish, right? Because now you're going to have to be good in the conference overall if they're going to the one division model. And that talent is really going to have to show up because you cannot, there's going to be the weak you won the weak East. Right. That's going away. Now you got to win the whole ass SEC every year.
Well, you could still get a nice, easy draw. It's possible.
That's
we have
true.
enough teams. We have enough teams, right? If you're a Bama or a Georgia, you could miss Georgia. You could miss an LSU. And then what does it look like? Does it look a lot more manageable if you don't have to play, if you're one of the big teams, but you don't have to play LSU and the other top recruiting team? Then it looks like, well, you know what? What's the SEC schedule without Bama or LSU or Georgia or LSU? Wouldn't it be a lot more manageable for us? How many years would we have gone double-digit wins if we didn't have to play Georgia and LSU? It could be easy for somebody. Now, that's not to say it's going to be us, but it's going to be a luck of a draw here a little bit. But we do. Now, when Texas and Oklahoma get here, then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the top 60. Top half of the best recruiting teams will be in the SEC. That is insane. Now, if you add Clemson here down 5, 6 years down the line, like I think we eventually will, it'll be even better.
Right.
We're strong, man. We're strong. The competition is stiff down here.
Well, I'll tell you what, it is Hugh Freeze understands the importance of this. Again, we keep telling people, he said it. He said, if we're not near the top of the list here, by year 3, we're going to be looking for jobs. And, I'm going to take a lot of heat from this, but like, in my opinion, before he's coached a game, his seat was starting to get hot. But my sources tell me that his seat is no longer hot because Harmon Mechanical is cooling him down, baby.
I saw where it was going.
HarmonMechanical.com, 334-219-0717. Give them a call. It's hot out here. I was outside with B for undisclosed reasons, moving bricks yesterday, and I can tell you that going into his house that Harmon Mechanical fixed up was just the trick to cool us down from some outside work. So HarmonMechanical.com, we appreciate them for sponsoring this segment. Harmon Mechanical for all your heating, air, and cooling needs. Also want to thank the Rogue Shop again for sponsoring this segment. RogueShop.com. Use code RAPPORT to get 15% off that next order at Rogue Shop. I think we're going to need a lot of cooling down in two ways. Like Rogue Shop cools you down in a different kind of way. You put them together with Harmon Mechanical, and man, that's just perfection, right, B? So,
Yep.
Let's get back to the comments here. Haley Tubbs, if I haven't already got to get the new shirt in the store, it's live and looks good. Ordered mine this morning. Yes, Haley is correct. That shirt is fire. So go get that. Daniel Owen, you War Report guys are getting the name out there, doing interviews and popping up everywhere. Love it. If you haven't checked out our interview with Cole Kublik, please go check that out. It is live right now. So we talked to Cole about Peyton Thorne, his thoughts on Peyton Thorne and everything Peyton Thorne. So that's going to be a hot topic here in the coming months and going into SEC Media Days. A lot of people are going to have questions about the quarterback position at Auburn. So check that out. Jonathan Boyson, we were at 54% last year per 247. 2021, we were at 56. 2020, we were at 59. And 2019, we were at 58. Interesting. So it actually went slightly up in 2020. It dropped significantly in the class that Gus handed off to Harsin. It went down another 2%. And this year it is 3% more down than it was before. So it's interesting numbers there in terms of blue chip ratio. Ultimately, Auburn's got to develop. Guys, Jonathan, Auburn's got to develop the guys you have. You'll see this number improve. Chris Sanders says Texas did nothing with all that talent in the Big 12. Agreed. It's a lot of talent to have over at Texas and, in Austin to do nothing with, right? And I think that the lack of development has been a problem there as well, too. They reside in one of the most fertile recruiting grounds in the country and have been able to do nothing with the talent there and a much easier conference. What are you doing? It's not going to get easier when you join the SEC. I think the pressure is going to be on whoever's the coach there is to produce a lot more, a lot faster. So we'll see how that goes for the good folks at Texas. AU Alum 94 says, and Texas and OU are about to join. We better step the hell up. Agreed. It's only going to get harder from here. You've got to be able to recruit. You've got to be able to develop in. It might help to establish a base before these guys join the conference. Recruits know what's coming. So those future recruits 2 years out, man, they are keeping an eye on what Auburn is doing. Chris Sanders says, only enough to be petty. Ole Miss is beneath this list and AU. I think we can all agree Ole Miss is a poverty program. As Ike likes to say, broke and ugly. And our guy, Jonathan Boyson, says, Chris, it correlates to national titles, speaking of the blue chip ratio. If you go back and look at the past 10 years, again, we said this already on the segment, that if the schools who have recruited at a high level, top 10 recruiting classes, are making the playoff. It's amazing that Auburn did what they, done in recruiting and hasn't. But again, either misidentifying talent or lack of development, call it what you will. We hope that's fixed under Hugh Freeze. Chris Sanders back again says, good perspective from Cole. Great interview and content, guys. We love Cole. Go check him out. The Cube Show pod over on YouTube. Please subscribe to him and support fellow creators. Cole loves us. We love Cole. AU Alum says, Cole loves him some Batee, just like me. Yeah, I'm a big fan. I think that Batee is going to do some big things for Auburn this year, and we might need him early in the season, so we'll see how that goes. Juicy Heights, joking with the moving bricks. I see what you did there. And P-Pass says, Texas is still cursed. Who was their OC at one time? Listen, man, Texas has got some demons that they're trying to exercise to get, back on track. Listen, if you got some heat demons you're trying to exercise, call Auburn Mechanical. AuburnMechanical.com. HarmonMechanical.com for your heating and air and cooling needs this summer. It's humid out there, guys. You definitely want to give these guys a call so they can come and fix your AC or just check. Preventative work is some of the best work you can do to your AC to make sure that you're not stuck this summer at the wrong time. So HarmonMechanical.com, call 334-219-0717. Definitely want to thank them as well as the Rogue Shop for sponsoring this segment. RogueShop.com. Use code REPORT to get 15% off that next order. Guys, that's it for today's drop. We'll be back at you guys tomorrow with a Friday drop. But until then, War Eagle.